Yeah, so kind of all business stops at 5. So this is a short and informal session in which I am down to summarise the day. Okay, that's okay. That'll take me about a couple of minutes, and then Peter is going to say something about future plans with now. Don't worry, you can walk away, you can walk out of this room, and never think about this again. That's okay. But so I think I've got it. I think I know what we're doing now. Thanks to everybody for telling me. I think I've worked it out. So there's, I think it's some important lessons from today and an important agenda that we may or may not think is reasonable. So I'll give you. This is my go at it. So I think the most important thing, or the most striking thing that came through to me throughout the day, is this rejection of the antimony between transnational and international, which I would just like to say personally, I would like to thank everybody for that rejection, because if anybody says, oh, but is it transnational, I actually want to stab myself in the leg with my fountain pen, because so let's just say that is not a legitimate discussion. There are underlying legitimate discussions, but just to say, is it international, is it transnational, that's not going to help us at all. We're not going to go forward. It's a spinning of the wheels, and we've cheated slightly in as much that the out and out transnationalist who was going to come along and tell me that was wrong couldn't come at the last minute. So we're all in fairly safe territory here. Nobody's going to complain about that. But I think we have put the transnational at the centre of things, in the sense that George and Tarek said this most clearly, but I think everybody touched on it. Almost that the transnational is the matrix of international history, or the history of international relations. That it's not a bolt-on extra. It is crucial, and it is central. And Patricia was making this point towards the end. If you're doing a biographical study of sort of a minor politician operating in Lithuania in 1937, then the transnational is sort of still important to you. Whatever your methodology, it's important, and that the best thing I got from that is that talking about knowledge production. And I know Quincy said this, but forgive me if it was somebody else, is that the knowledge production leads us to the conclusion that the state is the supreme outcome of the global project. So transnationalism is really about more state rather than less state. Essentially, transnational history is about going uber state. Not the tax issue. Not taking it.
Is it self-driving uber state?
I'm merely the messenger. I'm just reading back what people have said, or what at least I heard them say, and I also heard them say that this production knowledge can go in two ways, or more than that, but at least two. And one of which was Laurent started with is these concepts of normalization and multi-directional normalization. It's not about sort of a hegemonic system imposing itself elsewhere. It's about a variety of systems meeting and creating norms, and someone mentioned Ian Clark, who it was good to hear Ian come up in. A man very close to my heart, since he's my examiner. So he was very nice about it as well. So words are against him as well. So that would be one way. But the other way is to problematise the international as well, and say that that's meaningless in some sense, because this thing about international is about the state doesn't work, because that's been defined and redefined, and it's historically cited. There's no point going to a textbook and saying this is what international is. It's different things at different times, and I've learned that the key to that is the Grand Duchy of Tuscany. That the intensive study of the Grand Duchy of Tuscany is the way forward. So
research trips to Florence all round.
But the question we then moved on to is, okay, well, where do you start? That's all very well, and obviously Florence, but more.
Now with the funding for the next workshop.
We're counting on you for that, Sam.
These are notes towards that. So we had a number of sites where we might start: national archives, institutional archives. Do we start with the state and work outwards? Or is the state the last thing we get to? Do we start with other things and work in towards the state? But again, interesting that we're both, the state is some way defining the way that we work. I think I now understand Liberia as an impact case study. I think I know what they were doing. They were gathering evidence that they had had an effect on a non-academic body, and typing it up. But I think our overall sense, or the sense I had of your sense, is that no choice that we might make about where to start, indeed where we want to finish, is really legitimate, because the real trick is to follow the power. That what we're, people have kept coming back to that, the accretion of power, the power asymmetry, exchange, sort of hegemonic relations, imperial relations, sort of, we kept coming back to that. So partly it'll be transnational, it will be comparative, it will be international, we'll be doing, sort of everybody's doing all this kind of stuff. There is no right answer if you're following the power. And I think I did actually, there is obviously, this is a list rather than a kind of analytical scheme, but as far as I can tell, in order to do that, we should be interested in four things: politics, economics, class, and geography. Which isn't necessarily the four things I would have started with this morning, because actually I think that's Marx. And our radical project, and what's really going to get us noticed, and as Tarek and Deutsch were saying, it sort of only becomes important, if you get the Trinity, if you're practitioner, theoretician, and researcher, is that we're now going to normalise Nazi Germany, and that seems to be the key. So that's great. Well, I look forward to working with you all on that, and we'll write a press release for the website. I'm very excited. So thank you very much. So in between, I actually think there is something in the normalisation of Nazi Germany. I suspect that is a taboo that needs to be broken by people who are not David Irving. So I think you're right, basically. And I'm glad that it's Patricia going to do it rather. But the other thing I said, particularly about there being no right answer here, that there isn't, a single thing, key which will unlock it, and transnational isn't a silver bullet, neither is international, neither is comparative, neither is national. None of these are silver bullets. It's the process of tracing power and causality. I think are the keys. So that would be that's what I got from it.
I don't want us.
Your Middle Earth may vary.
I wanted to say a few words about where we're going next and our ultimate aim. Before I do, though, because Jessica Reinisch couldn't come, and I'd asked Jessica to say a few things about her views, and we've discussed this before. Now, I don't think we'd be being entirely fair to the more radical end of the transnational project if we didn't at least mention the criticism that I think is worth taking seriously, that studying politics through the lens of the nation and the state tends to reify the nation and the state and reproduce a system that hinges on war, because states historically have taken charge of making war. I think that there are lots of ways to rebuff this criticism. I think some of them we've heard tonight, but we should probably acknowledge it again. I mean, but one problem is, and I've been accused of taking a nationalist paradigm, adopting a nationalist paradigm and a statist methodology, because I work in state archives, and there were a few nation states around during most of the period that I work. But I do think it's worthwhile me always keeping in mind that the nation state is very contingent, and this is it's important not to treat it as the natural model for world politics. And this is something that the transnational turn has tended to emphasize, and it's been very worthwhile. Yep. And it also tends to point to areas of world politics where important things are going on that you can't capture if you just spend your time in the Quai d'Orsay or in the PRO, or what's now called the National Archives. But I just wanted to say that to cover me because. But as far as where we're going in the future, in the immediate future or the near future, our next workshop will be in Glasgow on the 30th of March at the moment. We don't have an administrator because Ailey has got a job and is leaving us. But as soon as we have one, we'll keep you informed about what's going on. That workshop will be on the cultural turn in the practice of international history. And we have Glenda Sluga coming from the University of Sydney in Australia to lead that workshop, lead off that workshop. So I'm very excited about that, and you'll all be informed and advised and welcome to attend this next workshop. The final workshop is not planned in terms of a date yet, but it will be held in conjunction with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. It will be held in London, and it will be something which I think will be of some interest to Tarek and George, and because it's about the role of international history in its relationship with stakeholders, policy stakeholders, around this issue, and also the role of the history of international relations more broadly in society. So,
will Boris attend?
Sorry?
Will Boris attend?
Well, we'll see. Yes. My secret hope is he'll be long gone by then, but who knows? Probably not. And finally, I mean, our idea has always been to publish as much of the workshop papers as possible. We realize that some of you will need to get papers out for various reasons beforehand, but certainly from what we've heard today, we will put, and what we heard in the first workshop, which was held in Glasgow back in April, we will have a formidable array of papers. And not only that, and my aim and Simon's aim, our aim has been from the very beginning not to have literature reviews, but in fact to publish kind of living scholarship that will have a shelf life that will go beyond the period where the literature it surveys goes up. And so every single paper we've heard today fits into that bill, and I'm really happy about that, because I think the only way this project will really have an influence in the areas we're hoping to influence is if it is scholarship that's not summative, but instead intervenes in debates in some cases with historical cases, and with other cases with important theoretical interventions. So that's all I really had to say, other than thank you, all of you. Thank you for coming. I can speak for Simon and say that we're very proud to have hosted this event today, and hopefully we will see you all again soon. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.